Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming to the Ray Carr Show is legendary singer, songwriter, guitarist, pianist, and actor, Mr. Peter Noone. Peter, thank you for joining the Ray Carr Show today.
Thanks for having me, Ray. It's a good day.
Oh, it's a great day. And the big show that Hermits, starring Peter Noone, will be performing at the Lorraine Palace Theater Friday, March 3rd, which is a 7:30 show. Peter, that's going to be a tremendous show. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, we try to do good shows everywhere. We did one last night. We're doing one tonight. We keep getting better and better. I think. I'm not sure I feel better. As I love the songs, so I'm happy every night. I just get a chance to sing them. So hopefully at Lorraine, it'll be the best concert we ever did ever.
And that's the right attitude to have. And the songs that you do have been my favorites for 50 years. I'm into Something Good, which was recorded in 1964. I'm Henry VIII. Just listen to me. These are my favorites. And of course, Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter. I love that one too.
Me too. That's a great song. And Henry VIII. I like Henry VIII too. It's lots of fun to play, and the audience sing it, and the audience sing There's a Kind of Hush. So we've got quite a lot. And last night they sang Silhouettes.
Oh yeah, by the Rays originally.
Yeah.
Peter,
yeah,
now I noticed you don't have a song or a set list. You just kind of play to the crowd.
Yeah, we have a load of songs that we know, and sometimes we do. It just depends how the audience looks. We just look at them and see what they like. Last night was a sit-down audience, like theatre-type audience where everyone's sitting down, so they don't need any dance music.
Right. And you know that being an entertainer, as long as you have, and an actor, you can just look out at the audience and you just instinctively know the right thing to do at the right time.
Well, I was brought up in a situation like when you played the Kevin, you had to keep people's attention. And so you learn by doing it. We did a lot of gigs before we became famous, and I learned sort of how to handle myself and how to watch the audience and how to follow their signals.
You came from a family of musicians, including, I think your Aunt Mary used to play Fats Walter's home for you.
Yeah. Me and my Auntie Mary did a show together, like in the parlor of my grandmother's, where we would sing My Very Good Friend the Milkman.
Wow.
My very good friend the Milkman says, and I saw a Paul McCartney thing, same song.
Yeah, exactly.
His aunties played the same song, so it's interesting how the Beatles and Hermits and the Stones, all of us listen to the same songs from our parents. So the 60s is really a rehash, is all the influences of probably the 40s and the 50s.
And you were a big fan of Eddie Cochran and Johnny Cash as well, from America.
Yeah, Eddie Cochran, Buddy Holly, Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, all of that. We liked all of that in England.
What made the American sound so appealing to you?
I think America is where show business was invented. Do you know what I mean? It's all a bit Morris dancing in the rest of the world, and like lederhosen and accordions. And in America, they turned it into popular music. They called it, it's been called rock and roll. Before that, with jazz. They're all American things, bebop, all the types. And I'm not saying classical music, but popular music, like modern popular music. Rodgers and Hammerstein, Ray Conniff. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's all American. Buddy Holly, Texas rock and roll, which is really country and western music. So, it was always America for me. All the great movies seem to have been that I liked. Like the Magnificent Seven were American.
Great movie.
All that stuff. I even like the new one.
Yeah, it wasn't bad either. But I always am partial to the original.
Basically in England, first of all, we only had one American television show, and it was the Perry Como show. We didn't have any of the other people, so we all grew up with a bit of whoever Perry Como had on his show, we knew them. And of course, people like me who only bought the original copies of records. Like there was a guy called Craig Douglas, who was a great singer, and he did all the Sam Cooke songs, one after the other. And there was another guy who did all the Bobby V songs. So, I just bought the originals, and my influences were all Americans. I'm not influenced by any English singers.
Perry Como's got an Ohio connection. He was a barber from Steubenville, Ohio.
Really? I didn't know that. So yeah, there you go. We started the other day. I made a joke in the show that I went to a show with my grandparents, and it was the Monkees and Perry Como, and the audience started to sing "Catch a Falling Star," and they knew all the words.
Wow.
Is Steubenville near where we're going?
No, actually, Steubenville is near Pennsylvania. You'll be
okay.
So you'll be about maybe 200 miles away from there. But that's also where Dean Martin grew up.
Oh, nice, great,
very interesting. But the big show is going to be Friday, March 3rd, at the Lorraine Palace Theater, and I'll tell you what, I'm sure it will be the best show you've ever done, because I cannot wait. I've been waiting to see you for my whole life, and I know this place will be packed and rocking and rolling and ready to go. And tickets are on sale now, and the theater is at 617 Broadway in Lorraine, and we'll give the phone number out at the end of the interview. Peter, any thoughts about Ohio? You've been here a number of times.
Well, Ray, when Hermits first broke in America, it was all Ohio. It was all we was the first. We did the Columbus, Ohio. You know, the Ohio State Fair. We played on the first tour. I think 5 of the 25 concerts were in Ohio, and it's still like that. We play quite a lot. We play at least once a year in Ohio because it's always been the state where we like. There are maybe at least 200 lifetime members of the Peter Noone fan club who live in Ohio, in different parts of Ohio. It's a big state. Ohio's bigger than England. Right.
There's like 12 million people that live here. And on my show, I play a lot of Herman's Hermits, and there's a tremendous amount of fans. And I was able to bring to the table that For Your Love and Bus Stop were originally done by you guys.
Yeah, we'll probably do those in the show in Ohio. If we get, when we play theaters, we get to be, you know, if you play a theater, everybody who came to the show paid money to see you, so they get more than if it's like a casino or a park where people just like, oh, who is it? You know, so in a theater, always the best shows are in theaters, always.
And one of the songs that I remember, I read this recently, that John Paul Jones had a lot to do with the song "Dandy" and "No Milk Today."
And There's a Kind of Hush. He's the bass player and the arranger. He wrote the charts for those songs, and we went in the studio and we recorded them to his charts. No Milk Today. And you know, No Milk Today, Dandy, and There's a Kind of Hush were all recorded at the same session.
Huh.
And it was weird because it's like in Abbey Road, the strings were in another room. So at the intro of There's a Kind of Hush, there's a delay in the when you play it, you listen to it now. If you know anything about music, you can notice that we're not in tempo, but it still was the best shot. It's because we kind of recorded live in those days. The vocal that I sang with the band that day was John Paul Jones on bass, and I can't remember, Clem Contini maybe on drums, and we sang kind of live, and that was usually the best take. It's interesting. So No Milk Today was like done in one go, and then I double tracked my vocals. It was like, and Dandy was like the strings are on the same time, and they're a little bit out of time as well.
And you felt more comfortable doing it this way?
You know, Mickey Most only had one real note. He would say, "I don't believe you. Do it again." And that was. You know, you had to get inside the song and believe it, you know, because in music, you know, like in There's a Kind of Hush, so when you go, so listen very carefully, the musicians have to know that you're singing, so listen very carefully. Otherwise, they won't play it with the same kind of soul. So, you know, songs are drama. So songs are a drama, and and it's a play, and it has a story, and it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the bridge isn't the same as the verse. So quite often, like, for example, Wonderful World, we did this Wonderful World song because me and Eric Burden, we were big fans of Sam Cooke, and Sam Cooke got murdered in Los Angeles. So we went in quickly to the studio. You know, in those days, you could go in the studio the same day. It was easy. You just went over to the studio. And he cut Bring It On Home to Me. Eric Burden cut Bring It On Home to Me with the Animals.
Yeah.
And I cut Wonderful World with Jimmy Page. I think Jimmy Page is on Wonderful World. And it was believable because Mickey Most, the producer, said, do that one because, you know, you don't know anything about history or geometry or geography or trigonometry. which wasn't true, but he said, it's much more believable, a 16-year-old boy singing that than Sam Cooke.
Yeah, you're right.
The old I Don't Believe You was perfect. That's a perfect illustration of his I Don't Believe You. Now I believe you. So,
no,
we had that thing. A lot of the records were made sort of, first of all, the band was of the moment. The whole thing was of the moment. We were playing in a moment that is a real moment. 1965 and 64 and 60s, you can tell that they were made for them. The records weren't made for now. They still work, but they were made for that week that they came out. I think if you put out Henry VIII now, it would disappear in a second. But when that came out, it was of the moment. It was the perfect record for that week. And the proof was they all went straight to number one. Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter, is probably the oddest record ever, and it went straight to number one because it was odd and charming. Oh, it was made of the moment. Everything Herman's Hermits. We didn't have a plan. These bands who've got a plan and let's make a psychedelic album, let's make a disco album. We just made records to get on the radio that week.
And they worked. Peter Noone, our special guest. Peter, the song Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter was originally done by Tom Courtenay.
Yeah.
And I listened to it, and yeah, it was a good song, but your version was so much better.
Well, I think Tom would agree, and the writer of the song. I think we quite often Herman's Hermits got hold of something and turned it into something different and special. We did with Silhouettes. I mean, if you listen to the original Silhouettes, we really nailed it. We made it into a 65 song. It was a 55 song that we turned into a 65 song. And Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter was just this cute little thing. And, I never take all the credit for everything. The credit for Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter goes to Keith Hopwood, who bought this Gretsch Country Gentleman guitar. A Chet Atkins Gretsch Country Gentleman guitar. And it had this little damper on it that was supposed to make the sound of a banjo. It doesn't make the sound of a banjo, and banjo doesn't have muted strings. But it was something that Chet Atkins had designed, and he thought it'd be good, this little damper to go tonka, 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 tonka for country music, right? And we both seen, it was the Tom Courtenay version was in a television play called The Lads, and it was written by the guy who wrote the song. And the play was written by the Tom Courtenay writer. So we both heard it, and one of us, I'll give him the credit because it doesn't really make much difference to me. One of us said, hey, we could get that Chet Atkins Country Gentleman sound and do that sound like he's got that little ukulele thing. And we were in his house in Church Road in Urmston, and we didn't have an amplifier, and it was a Country Gentleman, and it kind of had it was a hollow-bodied guitar, and we put together that version of Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter. And then when we showed it to the band, Carl Green came up with dunga 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 dunga, and it turned it into a smashing little record. And Mickey Most, he wanted me to believe it. He didn't want to record it. He got, no, let's just slip it. He said, we'll put it on track 3, side 2. Because he didn't think it was a hit. Because who would think that would be a hit?
Right.
And it just was, because it was charming and it was of the moment. It's always going to be things that are of the moment. I mean, Katy Perry had her moment. It isn't now. Adele had her moment. It isn't this week. We had our moment in those weeks. Unfortunately, along the way, I turned into an entertainer, so we can still go out and have a show. We do a thing called a show. So if it's the same every week, isn't Oklahoma the same every time you go and see it?
No.
So we keep the songs in the same order, basically. They're not like a set list, but we always do I'm Into Something Good, Wonderful World, Love Potion number 9, Silhouettes, There's a Kind of Hush, Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter, there's I'm Henry VIII, There's a Kind. They're all in the show. You know that they're going to be in the show. So that's kind of, I think that's what it gives the people what they want, is what we do.
Peter, you really love to entertain. I've watched you on video, and you just really love to do that.
I really do, but that's not unusual. There's a lot of people from my era who aspired to be not Elvis Presley, but to be Dick Van Dyke or Danny Kaye, who were entertainers. You know, I wanted to learn to dance like Danny Kaye, and I never thought of myself as a musician. Like Jerry Marsden says, I'm not a musician, I'm an entertainer. The musicians stand behind me.
Yeah, Jerry of Jerry and the Pacemakers, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man.
So, you know, we do. I turned myself into an entertainer. It took a long time, but, you know, I got good.
Oh,
yeah. You know, they say 10,000 hours. I took 100,000 hours.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you are very, very, very good. And, you've acted and you've been on a lot of TV programs, too. I mean, Married with Children, from that to Ed Sullivan. I mean, it runs the gamut of television that you've been on.
Yeah, I did loads of television shows because people think I'm good at that. And I always play the same character. I play this English rock star. And I did 3 movies, and I did a Broadway show, a couple of Broadway shows where I basically played Peter Noone singing other people's songs. So acting is probably what I do every night on stage, but I'm not acting like I'm having fun. I am having fun.
Yeah, it really shows. Now, it all began, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 1960. You went up on the stage and filled in for a gentleman named Malcolm. You were Peter Novak in the Heartbeats. Is that the information I have correct?
Yeah, he was actually Pete Novak, like Pete Townsend, only it was Pete Novak. Yeah, you know, there's a guy called Malcolm Lightfoot who didn't show up for the gig, and Alan Wrigley, who was the bass player in this band called the Heartbeats, knew that I knew every song. I was a music collector. I had the best record collection in Manchester, probably, and he showed me what was called a set list in those days. These are the songs. Do you know any of these songs? And I know them all. So I said, would you help us out? Malcolm didn't show up. So I said, sure. And I got on stage, and I was better than Malcolm, obviously, because he was never brought back. Right. You don't show up once, you probably lose the gig.
Yeah. And at that moment, you realized that, boy, you know, I'm good at this.
Well, you know, I was really afraid. But at some point of this evening, I think it was during I'll Never Dance Again or something, a song, we used to do a Bobby Rydell song, I'll Never Dance Again. Some part during that show, I got singing like comfortably, and I go, hey, this feels good. I think I could probably do this for, you know, this is good fun. And never once did I imagine that I'd ever make money. In those days, people had a job so they could be in a band. Do you know what I mean? In those days, you needed a job to support the ability to go and play concerts. So, you know, I had 3 jobs to be in Hermits, or Pete Novak and the Heartbeats. I once drove around with a guy putting cement posts in the ground, and that isn't good for anybody who's got little tiny English pink hands. And then I was a window cleaner, and then me and a guy who isn't in the music business, Roy Bergin, sold newspapers on street corners and delivered newspapers and programs. And we worked for Manchester United, this English football club, and we used to sell programs there. And at halftime, we used to sell the newspapers there. You know, I mean, unbelievable. We worked our asses off in those days just to be in a van.
Wow. That's
just to be able to get a van and get the petrol and drive, do a concert and get paid $10, which split 4 ways or 5 ways wasn't really going to feed us. We'd stop at a fish and chip shop, but we never got the fish. We only ever got the chips.
Wow. You know, you also, knew John Lennon back in the day, and John and Paul were, I imagine, very big influences on you.
Well, they were, because the biggest part of the influence was that nobody was competitive. We were not competition. You know, Hermits weren't like the Beatles, and the Beatles weren't like the Kinks or the Rolling Stones or the Who. We were all completely unique and different. So consequently, you could be friends with people even if they didn't like your music. Nowadays, if you don't like the music, you can't even stop. I'm not even speaking to them. That's rubbish. So that they were kind to us, because we were these kids starting off, and they were nice. I'd go to a place where I was too young to get in, and John Lennon would get me in and buy the drinks. I'll get Supercard. There was 2 drink minimums in clubs in those days, and he'd say, I'll get Supercarders, you get 2 Cokes, and that was it. We were in, and I was ready to go. And they were kind to us in the fact that we'd do loads of gigs with them, concerts with them, and they were always pleasant and what are you up to? Where you going? Oh yeah, that kind of thing. And I used to get lifts with them. You know, I was a kid, so I would say, where are you going after the concert? Where are you going after this TV show? And they'd say, we're going to London. And I said, can I come with you? And they'd say, sure. And I'd hop in I had loads of rides with the Stones in those days because they liked me. The Stones liked me. We had the same, their manager was involved in Herman's Hermits as well. So we hung out well together. And they were not as rough and rowdy as they would like you to believe. They were more like Herman's Hermits than Herman's Hermits.
Wow.
Just they just to go bluesy, and they were a bit more, their image was to get people to think that they were Cockney rebels, and our image was that we were the boys next door.
Yeah.
The antithesis, so, we were the dichotomy. Yeah, we were the opposite of the Stones, which is good. And we didn't have a plan like the Stones. We didn't make plans. They made plans. Oh, and then we're going to have an album in the summer, and we didn't do that. We said, let's get in the studio and try and get a record that gets on the radio. And that was it.
Wow.
That's our story. We didn't ever make an album. We made singles that failed, that didn't turn out really well, like Bus Stop and For Your Love, and we put them in albums, and other people recorded them and turned them into hits.
But I still like your versions a lot. I really enjoyed those a lot, and a lot of people don't know that you did those.
Yeah, you can like them, but you've got to admit that the Hollies version of Bus Stop is a much better version than Herman's Hermits, and the same, the Yardbirds For Your Love is a much better version than Herman's Hermits. But they referred to ours to make it better, just like we referred to the Silhouettes version of Silhouette and got a better version. It's great. I'm happy that they made good records. My friend wrote both the songs, so I'm happy that and me and T-Top would own a bit of the publishing on For Your Love, and we don't know why.
Peter Noone, special guest here on the Ray Carr Show. Peter, you're also the host on a radio show called on the Sirius XM radio network. It's called Something Good, Saturdays at 5 p.m. You obviously enjoy doing radio because you have a great voice, and you tell some stories in that show. And how long have you been doing that?
I think I've been doing it for 3 years. I think I've had 2 raises, so I've been doing it for 3 years now. They like it, and they got 31 million subscribers, and I think 12 of them listen to my show. But mine's a good show, and it's a fun show, and I only play music that I like, and if I don't like you, I don't, I play some songs by people that I don't like, but I don't talk about them. My mother said, if you don't have something nice to say about something, don't say anything at all. So some people, I just play their music.
Yeah.
I can like your music if I don't like you.
Okay, yeah. Who, just out of curiosity, who are some of your favorite songs, kind of obscure songs from the 60s that you enjoy listening to and playing on the radio?
I like Adam Faith because he was a good guy and he was very talented and he had a great producer. It's called Adam Faith, and I think he was unique. When he did an American song, he did like, what do you want if you don't want money? I think it was a Bobby V song originally. What do you want if you don't? And he did a totally unique version of that. And he did a Message to Martha, and he made some pretty good records. And he only had one hit in America, and it was called It's All Right. And at some time in his career, he wanted to manage me. So, I just think he was a great person, a really good personality. And he turned into a great actor, had a TV series in England. So, I like to play him. I like to play Johnny Kidd and the Pirates because I have great memories of seeing them live. And I like, anything that has got people, any bands where there's people in them that I know and like, I play them. It's like I played a Cream record the other day because me and Jack Bruce were great pals, not musically friends, but friends.
Yeah.
And, we didn't say, let's make a record together. We were not the same type, but we did hang out and go drinking together and do boys stuff, So there's loads of them as well. Fortunately, I've been around a long time and I've always been kind of affable. So people feel comfortable coming up and talking to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I understand, yes.
Yeah. So I know loads of people and I got loads of stories and I still see lots of people from that period. It's like My wife and I went for dinner with Eric Burdon last week, and we both of us have known him for, over 20 years. So, like maybe 50. But that stuff still, a lot of people whose music I play in the show are still alive. I play not only British people, remember. I mean, I play loads of American people as well, like Tommy Rowe and people who are still out there, they're still out there.
Yeah, I love Tommy Rowe.
Yeah, great records, great guy. So that's what we do, and I play the Monkees because I know Mickey and I knew Davey pretty well, and I don't know the other two, but I know those two, and I play the Monkees, and I got great Monkey stories, and I make stuff up. I say at the beginning of the show some of the stories I tell may be true, which leaves me an opening to lie.
I get it. Wow. And the Monkees were really a phenomenon in 1966 in America. I mean, they really took over.
Yeah, I think they did in England as well. They were just, but teen idol thing. So
yeah,
we enjoyed that.
Peter, I just thought about something. We talked a moment ago about Johnny Kidd and the Pirates. The song that really resonated with me was Shake Over.
Yeah, it's a great record, great guitar playing, everything. Everybody's great on that. Everything, and it's a great record. And they were a great band. I used to go and see them in Manchester at the Oasis. We used to get bus rides and bike rides and stuff to go and see Johnny Kidd and the Pirates. But we also went to see people like Eddie Cochran and Sam Cooke and Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis and there was and Wayne Fontana and the Mindbenders when there were Wayne Fontana and the Jets and the Escorts and the Undertakers and the Big Three and who played in Liverpool a lot. There were a load of great bands that were worthy of a bike ride and a bus ride. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean that's the dream.
We got my friend at school was this guy called Roy Bergen, and he had an older brother, and his older brother could borrow the works van some weekends, and we would get in his van. Like, it was a tiny van, but like 6 people in it would be, all in the back. It was a delivery van, so there was no seats in it, and we'd pile in there. And remember, there was no booze then. We were all too young to even think about booze. Maybe there was a cigarette. But, and we would follow Sam Cooke around. We'd go 100 miles to Stoke, and then the next day we'd get in the van and we'd go to Liverpool, and then the next day we'd go wherever Sam Cooke was going, we followed him around on the store. And he wore the same clothes every night.
Wow.
He wore a turquoise suit every night. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And one night he started with Shake.
Oh,
It was totally brilliant. I mean, that's still memorable stuff, you remember. I remember seeing ZZ Top and them starting off with Well-Dressed Men, and, stuff like that is, I'm happy that I've had those experiences.
Oh, those are classic. I mean, you can't put a price on those experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing. Have you ever thought about maybe piling all that information together and compiling a chronological book from beginning to end here?
We've talked about it, but I'm too busy right now. I did 138 gigs last year, and we're going to do 120 or something this year, maybe more. Don't know this year.
Yeah,
this year's still unfolding.
Right. Well, it's been a good year, but I mean, in the future, I'm sure at some point.
Yeah, I've got another 10 years. I'll probably do it within the next 10 years. Otherwise, the people who want to read it will all be dead.
No, I think a lot of younger people are very much into your music as well, because they want to learn. Your music still sounds relevant. And it sounds great.
The way I'm going, because I started off younger than all the others, I'll soon be the only one left from the period.
Yeah. Well, even though somebody could be gone, I mean, or very old, I mean, it's still their music can be revived again.
Yeah, right, exactly. But if they're not alive, I can tell stories that aren't true about them.
You could. You absolutely could. Peter Noone, our special guest here on the Ray Carr Show. The show, Hermits, starring Peter Noone, will be at the Lorraine Palace Theater Friday, March 3rd, 7:30, and the theater is located at 617 Broadway in Lorraine. Phone number is 440-245-2323. Peter, thank you. And I just thought of something before I let you go also is, what was the strangest bill you were ever on?
I think it was Cliff Richards and the Shadows, the Beatles, the Stones, the Yardbirds, Herman's Hermits, the Animals, and the Seekers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, a good night out.
Wow. Didn't the Shadows do the original version of Apache?
Yeah, I think they wrote it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Cliff Richard was in that band, I believe.
Cliff Richard was the singer in the band. Yeah. Cliff Richard wasn't one of the Shadows. It was Cliff Richard and the Shadows.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I got to go, Ray.
Well, Peter, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, it's good talking to you. I'll see you at wherever it is there.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.